For more, let's bring in former FBI agent of 25 years, Maureen O'Connell. Maureen, this case has so many questions. The officials calling it suspicious, but yet then saying no expectation of foul play. And you heard the details we learned from Matt Friend's great report. But if I can, I want to put the map up and show our viewers the map that you can see of the Hackman home along this old Sunset Trail. And we can see kind of, Maureen, the houses around it. And as Matt pointed out, there was no cameras inside the Hackman home, but you wonder around that home where you see, even though it's rural, other homes, might there be another camera or other neighbors around that might be able to tell us more about the timeline? And is that of interest to you as a former FBI agent?
Yes, absolutely. They're going to be looking, as the sheriff deputy said, that they're going to be looking at the phones. They're going to be looking at their devices and whether or not the phones had been used, when was the last time. And with regard to the cameras, I agree with you. They are going to be looking at the entrance cameras to the gated community, any of their neighbors. They were on a 6-acre lot, so that's a huge piece of land. And when you're in a rural area like that, these external cameras in the neighbors' homes could prove beneficial, if nothing else, than to rule out the idea or the notion that someone else may have been on their property or near their property on the date they last stopped living.
And Maureen, what are the questions, as someone who has been for decades a law enforcement investigator with the FBI, what would you be doing right now if you were on the ground? What are the questions you think need to be answered right now?
Well, I would be doing exactly what they're doing right now, and I would look at all their devices. There's right now they're narrowing things down, and that's exactly what you want to do. Initially, when law enforcement or the first responders showed up at this location, they thought it probably was an event, like a carbon monoxide or something, because that's oftentimes what happens. However, in this instance, once they ruled that out, you start going down other paths. The hallmark of a great investigator or a really good investigation is to follow the facts as they unfold and stick with them. And that appears to be exactly what they're doing right now, particularly with the phones. I think if they can get into those phones, they may be able to determine who died first, because that seems to be what everyone's asking right now. And although it's extraordinarily rare for two people to die of natural causes on the same day, there is a chance that it might have happened. And for all we know, she could have been the one that had the initial heart attack and he was running to help her and fell. But we don't know that yet.
Well, that is just such a remarkable consideration that these two individuals, 30 years apart, die of natural causes. Because as we know, the officials, when they told us that there was mummification, that was like, wait a minute, what's that? So my question to you is, how important is, obviously carbon monoxide poisoning has been ruled out, but how important is what the medical examiner can tell us play a role in determining what happened?
Well, the medical examiner is going to do a whole series of tests, as they often and always do, and those tests may be able to tell us whether or not a cardiac event happened. With Mr. Hackman's pacemaker going off, it's probably going to be him that suffered the cardiac event initially, but we don't know that. We're going to be also able to look at her, and they're going to run the same tests on her. They're going to have to run a whole battery of tests, and I can tell you for a fact that the toxicology tests take weeks and weeks to be completed. So we're closer to the end, but we're not at the end of the investigation just yet.
And final thoughts as you look at where this leads us in the questions about, was anyone else there? You think it's going to be what, weeks before we get the next set of details? Or could we get something from the Santa Fe sheriffs and the officials there that would really bring us to closure here?
We may be able to get it sooner than the average age, because everyone is just so interested in this and pressuring the ME's office, et cetera. But it usually does take quite a bit of time to get toxicology results back.
Maureen O'Connell, as always, great insight. Thank you for your time today, and have a great weekend.
Thank you, Griff.